Well, it's Friday morning and I'm joined by the Chief Minister, and obviously Tynwald's back to work. And how did it go for you?
Well, the October session of Tynwald is always a busy session because a lot of work has been backed up over the summer recess. So we've had a pretty hectic couple of days. It's been an important one for me this time, especially because for the first time we've issued a statement of intent, an identification of government priorities for the next few years, an agenda for change we call it. In fact, it identifies some of the very important areas we now have to consider in the light of the government financial rebalancing. So it's an opportunity to highlight what I see as my priorities and give members a chance to ask questions on it. In the past, there's always been a government plan. That has got very large and impenetrable, in fact, and really, to my mind, is completely out of date. We've scrapped that now and focus now on this statement. So it gave me an opportunity to outline the programme for the time ahead.
I mean, the boundaries to be looked at, you know, the new way to put two MHKs in every area. I mean, you started off that debate with such positivity, but by the end of the day, you said, oh, here we go, we're back to parish pumps again.
Yes, well, equality of representation has been an issue on the agenda for many years, sometimes greater than sometimes than others. But in the issue of fairness, we have to ensure that there is an equality of representation across the island. The recommendation from the Boundary Commission was that there should be 12 two-seat constituencies, as opposed to the mixture of 1, 2 and 3 seats that we have at the moment. The day started with an agenda for change, and I hoped, in fact, that the mood I caught from members of Tynwald was that they were fired up for that change. Unfortunately, in many ways, when we got to talking about the boundary changes, we reverted to type, and the parish pump tended to take over, and you know, the status quo was being argued very forcibly.
There's always going to be vested interests, aren't there, in that?
Yes, and it's understandable. Nobody likes change in these areas. I think the last change there's been a major change of this nature was 150 years ago. So I think people have got quite comfortable with these arrangements. But again, you know, I'm trying to introduce fairness and social justice in all that we do, and this is part of it.
Okay. The big thing that seems to have slipped through one of your written answers today, and it's been making the media, hasn't it, about the freedom of information. I mean, you did go into this new Parliament last year saying we do want to open things up. Yeah. You know how it's looking now. I mean, it looks as if you are putting it into the long grass slightly.
No, that's not the case at all. The Freedom of Information Bill was a commitment I made on day one as Chief Minister. I am still completely committed to that. My concern all along, and I did say this at the start, was that we need a bill which is workable, which provides the public with the level of information that they want, but at the same time does not tie government up with endless requests, sometimes frivolous or vexatious requests, which actually could slow down the work of government at the same time. And of course, there is an ongoing concern about what the cost of all this might be.
Yeah,
now,
because I mean, Jersey were coming in at £5 million, weren't they, to run their version?
They were certainly talking about very substantial amounts of money. Now, the most important thing from my point of view is to ensure that whatever we bring in, we can afford. We are in very, very difficult financial times. And even if the cost was only to be £1 million, there is no money in the budget for this sort of thing, and therefore that £1 million will have to be found out of other public service cuts.
You are aware, though, it is a perception that people are going to get that this is a secretist sort of government to some degree. There's something to hide, that we don't want everything to be out in the public, which, you know, is the perception.
Yes, but this is a nonsense which is often propagated by the media as much as anything else. We have already a code of practice on access to information. This has worked very effectively for a number of years now. Most people can get all the information they want through this code of practice. There have been very, very few refusals over the years, literally single figures, I think, in total every year, 1 or 2 a year. So the freedom of information legislation will not be that different. We will still be able to maintain access by the public for as much information as we can.
Okay. Well, I mean, you know, PAG obviously are particularly keen on this, because I suppose the man in the street, it doesn't mean much to them at all, but it's those sort of groups of people who will be putting the pressure on you to keep it in your near sight, should we say?
Yes, I know that's an issue they've been concerned with, but just to emphasise the concern I have about that approach was an interview today which the member of PAG was asked what would be his first request should the bill come in. And the answer was, well, I don't know, but when it comes in, I'm sure we'll think of something. That is not the reason for bringing in freedom of information. It's not to give people the right to make frivolous investigations on information just because they can. You know, this will slow down the work in government and come at a cost to the taxpayer. So we have to be sure that it's focused, it's written in the right way. The UK, I think, have had their bill in now for some little time. Tony Blair has said on a number of occasions it's one of his biggest regrets that he brought it in the way that he had, because it's not working properly. I know Jersey are having the same problems with theirs. That hasn't worked properly.
Give us a timescale.
I hope that I am hoping at the moment within the legislative year, that's before next July, we will have the first reading. I can't promise that will be a definite delivery, but that's the target we're working for at the moment. Okay, I know you pushed time, but quickly, the Manx radio debate that came up, you made some very strong comments there about the way it's being run, or the perception of the management, and how there's no extra cash for them. I mean, there's a few worried people, no doubt, on the head, and just generally, where do you think this is going to go? Yeah. My comments weren't in any way meant to be antagonistic towards Manx Radio and the quality of the service that they provide. It's a very popular service on the island, and I am sure that we will continue to maintain the support. Where I depart in my views from the directors of Manx Radio is in their demand that Manx Radio should be ring-fenced and that they should have special treatment in terms of the subvention. Now, I have an exceptionally difficult job to do to provide the level of funds we need for social care, for health, for housing, for the police, for a whole raft of other public services. If I was to turn around and say, right, Manx Radio, you will have your subventions ring-fenced, it'll be guaranteed for a number of years to come, how can I refuse all these other very, very important services the same facility? We can't do it. We have a very, very difficult job to do in balancing our overall finances. Everybody has to play its part in that. And Manx Radio, I'm afraid, is one of it. And the directors are being very unrealistic, I think, in their ambition to think that Manx Radio, for some reason, should be given special status. And there's been this talk, Ron Berry, the 3FM man, having chats, bringing all the media together, the Manx Broadcasting Corporation. Do you think this is the way forward? I don't know. I'm aware that this discussion is taking place. There have been some contacts with the Department of Economic Development on this matter. I've not seen the report so far. Whether it has legs, whether it'll go anywhere, it's far too early to say. But clearly we need a vibrant media broadcast industry on the island. It's important that government plays its part to ensure that works. And I'm sure the debate which will ensue in December will start to give some pointers as to what the future might be.